What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we're going to talk about high stat armor hacks in Destiny 2 Lightfall that Bungie doesn't want you to know about. We'll be looking into the best sources for getting high stat armor and what you can do to rig the system into your favor so that you can have an easier time at farming for those elusive high stats. For those of you who are new to Destiny, armor influences several aspects of your character's performance, from your survivability to your use of supers and other abilities. The higher stats that your armor has results in better performance towards these different attributes, ultimately making you a better Guardian. There are 6 pieces of armor for each character: helmet, arms, chest, boots, and class item. Each armor piece has its own individual armor stats, which are broken into 6 categories. Each of these attributes has its own scaling system, going from tier 1 to the maximum of tier 10. The 6 different attributes include mobility, which dictates your movement speed and jumping distance. For hunters, this also includes the recharge rate for dodge. There's resilience, which dictates your ability to resist damage. For titans, this includes the recharge rate of barricades. And there's recovery. This dictates the speed in which your character starts to heal. For warlocks, this also includes the recharge of rifts. These are the 3 core stats that influence your survivability, as the bottom 3 influence your abilities. Discipline rules over your grenade recharge rate, intellect for super, and strength for charged melees. For any legendary piece of armor, with the exception of class items, the maximum stat points before being masterworked can reach 68, with an additional 12 being provided once the armor is fully masterworked. Exotic armor can reach 70, with an additional 12 points being provided when masterworked. What many Guardians don't realize is that these armor stats are divided into 2 subcategories for each armor piece. For a piece of armor which drops with a base stat of 60, this means that the top 3 attributes will combine for a total of 30 points, as will the bottom set of 3 attributes. This is a detail that we can use to our advantage, because we can influence how these stats are distributed. With the use of the Ghost Armorer mods, we're able to select one attribute to drop with a guaranteed minimum of 10 points, with the chance of it being even higher. This influences armor that comes through rewards or through armor focusing. For example, if I were to use the Strength Armorer mod, this would force my armor drops to always come with at least 10 strength, but there's a chance that it could drop much higher, which is often the case. In fact, I've seen several scenarios where one specific attribute took up nearly the entire combined points for that subcategory. What this means in turn is that the other 2 attributes within this subcategory are typically going to drop at a much lower total. In this scenario, it would be intellect and discipline that would drop with lower stats, because the majority of the points are being distributed to strength. This also means that the other subcategory, who is being uninfluenced by your selection in Ghost Mod, is free to have its stats distributed randomly, taking up the other half of the 60 points. This often ends up resulting in getting armor that has 1 high stat attribute in the category you set your armorer mod to, with 2 stat attributes that end up being high in the other subcategory. So if I were looking for armor that has high mobility and high resilience, but I'm also in need of strength, I could set the Strength Armorer mod and get a guaranteed high drop of strength, with the possibility of mobility, resilience, or recovery being high on the other side. When you start applying this technique to each piece of armor, you can adjust your Ghost mod beforehand and influence what your armor stats will be when you go through armor focusing or get rewarded armor through activities, greatly improving your likelihood of achieving tier 10 stats in multiple attributes. While having 3 or even 4 attributes maxed out at tier 10 was a pretty big stepping stone in the past, Lightfall has really changed that with the addition of font mods. There are 6 different font mods, all designed towards making up the difference for the lack of armor stats. There's Font of Endurance, Font of Agility, Font of Restoration, Font of Focus, Font of Wisdom, and Font of Vigor. Each of these mods will provide you with an additional 30 points in their respective attribute, while you have the armor charge buff active. While this isn't quite the same as having tier 10 stats, it does provide a significant boost and can really help out when you are lacking in a particular attribute. For those curious, the use of 2 copies of any of these mods will provide you with 50 points towards that attribute, and 60 points for the use of 3. To maintain armor charge buff, you have to collect orbs, which can be done through a variety of means, including Siphon mods, Firepower, Heavy-Handed, Reaper, and the Restorative Finisher mods. Along with specific class tree abilities, the Seasonal Artifact also offers the Shattered Orbs mod, as a way to create orbs by breaking combatants' shields with matching energy types. Again, this doesn't completely make up for not having tier 10 attributes, but it does provide you with a lot of wiggle room when setting up your builds. Now let's talk about what activities are going to guarantee you high stat armor. Currently, you're able to acquire high stat armor by completing legendary missions for both Witch Queen and Lightfall, but these will need to be at least a legend mode of 1830. Master Wellspring and Master Empire Hunts are also activities that will provide high stat armor, but these are also light level 1830. With it being the new raid, the Root of Nightmares provides a higher chance at high stat armor, as does the weekly dungeon and raid rotators. The season pass for Season of Defiance seems to be providing much higher drops with its armor than it did in previous seasons, so it does seem as though Bungie has thrown us a bit of a bone in that regard. Leveling up the war table at the helm gives you access to the Defiant Armor Focusing upgrade. This turns your Defiant Engrams into high stat armor drops for any of this season's armor that's already in your collection. The Legendary Deeds upgrade will be important to unlock as well, as it grants additional armor rewards at the end of Legendary Battlegrounds when spending a Defiant Key. While these activities aren't currently available when Grandmasters go live, they always provide an excellent source for high stat armor, as does Iron Banner and seasonal events like Guardian Games and Festival of the Lost. The most important factor is your use of the Ghost Armorer mod, and what attribute you're focusing when completing these activities. This way you have more control over how the stats are being distributed when your armor does drop. While it might seem that high stat armor is as likely to drop as the Vex Mythic class, this is something that you have a lot more control over than you might have thought. And by using the tips and tricks that we've gone over today, you should be able to easily acquire high stat armor throughout Season of Defiance. And with that being said, I wish you all the best of luck throughout this season and throughout the rest of Lightfall. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.